The door was locked. Inside the quiet house, a child was begging for help. And when police stepped in, they realized this was not just a family problem. It was something much darker. No one outside the home had seen it coming. Neighbors thought the house was peaceful. The streets were clean. The windows were shut. Everything looked normal. But that morning, one small knock would tear open a secret that had been hiding in plain sight. And it would lead straight to the name millions already knew. Ruby Franke. The story does not begin with sirens. It begins with smiles. Years earlier, Ruby Franke was known as a mother, a teacher, a guide. She spoke calmly. She looked confident. She told families how to raise strong children. Millions listened. Her videos showed a clean home, neat routines, and firm rules. She talked about discipline, about responsibility, about doing what was right, even when it was hard. To many viewers, she looked like the kind of parent who had everything under control. But behind the camera, something was changing. Slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. The night before police arrived, a child escaped. Thin, exhausted, and afraid, the boy knocked on a neighbor's door. He asked for water. He asked for help. He asked for someone to listen. The neighbor looked down and saw marks on his body. His wrists were hurt. His ankles were injured. He was weak. The neighbor did not ask questions. They called the police. When officers arrived at the house, they expected a normal family check. What they found instead stopped them cold. Inside, another child was found in a condition that shocked even experienced investigators. The house was quiet. No shouting. No chaos. Just silence. And signs that something had gone very wrong. At that moment, the case stopped being private. It became criminal. To understand how this happened, investigators had to go back in time. Back before the house went quiet. Back before Ruby Franke vanished from the internet. Back to the beginning. Ruby Franke was not unknown. She built her life in front of the world. Her family channel showed daily routines, lessons, and discipline. She spoke often about rules, structure, and consequences. Viewers saw a mother who believed children should learn responsibility early. Some people praised her. Others felt uneasy. Over time, her advice grew stricter. Her words became sharper. Punishment became a lesson. Suffering became something to learn from. Still, many watched. Still, few questioned. Then Ruby met Jody Hildebrandt. Jody presented herself as a therapist and life coach. She spoke about truth, control, and breaking bad behavior. She told parents that children could lie, manipulate, and deserve harsh discipline. Her words were firm, absolute, and Ruby listened. Soon, their ideas blended. What began as parenting advice became something else entirely. Friends noticed changes. Family members grew worried. Then Ruby stopped posting, and the house went silent. Investigators now asked the question no one wanted to answer. What happened when the cameras turned off? They searched records. They interviewed neighbors. They spoke to relatives who had tried and failed to reach the children. The answers were disturbing. Isolation, control, fear. Children were cut off from school, from friends, from anyone who might notice. And inside the home, discipline became extreme. The police reports were careful, calm, factual, but between the lines was a truth that was hard to face. This was not a sudden mistake. It was a pattern, and it had been building for a long time. As officers secured the scene, they looked for the adults. Ruby Franke was not there. Neither was Jody Hildebrandt. The women who preached control were gone. And now the search was on. Hours later, Ruby Franke was arrested. The news spread fast. The smiling mother from the videos was now facing serious charges. Viewers who once trusted her watched in disbelief. Parents felt sick. Questions flooded in. How could this happen in front of millions? How did no one stop it sooner? And what else had been hidden? As investigators dug deeper, they found journals, detailed notes, written instructions, a record of belief and punishment. And what was written inside raised a terrifying question. Was this only the beginning of what they would uncover? Because if the journals were true, then the full story had not yet been told. The journals were placed on a metal table under bright lights. Page after page, neat handwriting filled the lines. Rules, beliefs, punishments, words that sounded calm, almost gentle, until investigators understood what they meant in real life. This was not chaos. It was control, and it had been planned. As Ruby Franke sat in custody, investigators began to rebuild the story piece by piece. They spoke to family members who had not seen the children in months. They reviewed old videos, paused at moments that once seemed normal, but now felt wrong. A look that lasted too long. A rule that went too far. A smile that did not reach the eyes. Slowly, the picture became clearer. This was not about parenting advice anymore. This was about belief. Jodi Hildebrandt's influence sat at the center of it all. She had taught that children could be dangerous. That disobedience was not normal behavior, but proof of moral failure. That suffering could fix what love could not. Ruby accepted these ideas fully. She wrote them down. She enforced them. And inside the house, the rules became absolute. Investigators learned that the children were separated, controlled, watched closely. Food was limited. Contact with the outside world was cut off. No school, no friends, no one to ask questions. And the children learned one thing very quickly. Silence was survival. The more detectives read, the quieter the room became. This was not written in anger. It was written with belief. And that made it even more frightening. Meanwhile, the public reaction exploded. Former fans searched through old videos, trying to find the moment when things changed. Some defended Ruby. Others felt betrayed. How did we miss this? People asked. But the truth was uncomfortable. Nothing looked extreme at first. That was the danger. In August 2023, a 12-year-old boy, emaciated and with open wounds, climbed out of a window in Ivins, Utah. He ran to a neighbor's house, begging for food and water. This desperate act of survival was the beginning of the end for a dark secret hidden behind the picture-perfect facade of a popular YouTube family. The boy was the son of Ruby Franke, the matriarch of the 8 Passengers YouTube channel, which once boasted over 2 million subscribers. The home he escaped belonged to Jodi Hildebrandt, Ruby's business partner and therapist. When police arrived at Hildebrandt's home, they found Franke's 10-year-old daughter in a similar state of severe malnutrition. Both children were rushed to the hospital. Medical reports painted a horrifying picture. Ligature marks from being tied up, deep lacerations, and signs of prolonged starvation. For months, these children had endured what prosecutors would later describe as a concentration camp-like setting. They were denied adequate food, water, and basic care, forced to perform grueling physical labor in the summer heat, and subjected to extreme emotional and physical abuse. The news sent shockwaves through the online community. Ruby Franke, once a celebrated parenting vlogger who dispensed advice on raising a large family, was now at the center of a child abuse investigation. Her older children, who had long been estranged, expressed relief. Sherry Franke, the eldest daughter, posted on social media, finally, and told followers she had been trying to get help for her siblings for years. The family's idyllic online image had always been shadowed by controversy. Viewers had previously raised concerns about Ruby's strict and often harsh parenting methods, which included withholding meals and taking away personal belongings for extended periods. This case highlighted critical questions about the systems meant to protect children. Despite previous reports to Child Protective Services, the abuse had continued, escalating to a life-threatening level. The line between strict parenting and abuse became a central theme. The influence of Jodi Hildebrandt and her controversial Connections therapy program also came under intense scrutiny. Hildebrandt promoted principles of absolute personal responsibility, often blaming individuals, including children, for their own suffering. Franke, a devoted follower, seemed to adopt these extreme ideologies, applying them to her own family with devastating consequences. The legal process moved swiftly. Both Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt were arrested and faced multiple felony charges of aggravated child abuse. The evidence was overwhelming, including journal entries written by Franke herself that detailed the abuse in her own words. She documented forcing her son to work outdoors without protection and withholding food and water. These entries became a key piece of the prosecution's case, revealing a conscious and methodical pattern of cruelty. In February 2024, both women were sentenced to prison, with the judge condemning their actions as a betrayal of a mother's sacred responsibility. The Ruby Franke case serves as a chilling reminder of the disconnect that can exist between online personas and reality. It forces us to question the ethics of family vlogging and the potential for fame to obscure or even enable abuse. It's a story about the failure of community and institutional safeguards, but also about the incredible resilience of 2 children whose courage ultimately brought the truth to light. The journey to healing for the Franke children will be long, but their story has sparked a vital conversation about protecting the vulnerable in our increasingly digital world. The courtroom was silent. No cameras, no audience applause, just hard wooden benches, stacks of legal papers, and the unmistakable weight of truth finally settling into the room. This was where the story ended, not on social media, not in the comment sections, but right here, in real life. Prosecutors began, laying everything out with meticulous care. The journals, the medical reports, the undeniable timeline of events. They didn't raise their voices. They didn't need to. The facts, cold and hard, spoke for themselves, filling the quiet space with their own deafening roar. Ruby Franke sat and listened as her own words were read back to her. Sentences she had once framed as lessons were now being presented as evidence of profound harm. What she had once called discipline was revealed as a desperate and damaging form of control. And what she had once called love was shown for what it truly was, a source of deep and lasting suffering. For the first time, there was no online audience to convince, no algorithm to master. There was only accountability. Then, it was Jodi Hildebrandt's turn to face her own reckoning. Investigators had painstakingly traced her influence across time, uncovering unsettling patterns that stretched far beyond this one case. They found other families, other stories, and other warnings that had gone unheard for too long. Her teachings, once just abstract ideas shared online, were now tangible consequences with real-world victims. Expert witnesses took the stand. They spoke about the insidious nature of psychological manipulation, the strategic use of isolation, and the creation of extreme belief systems that slowly, methodically, replace a person's reality. They explained how unchecked authority, especially when mixed with absolute certainty, can become a dangerous and destructive force, particularly within the sacred trust of a family. The message became clearer with every piece of evidence presented. This didn't happen overnight. It was a slow burn, a gradual descent that went unnoticed by many until it was too late. This case serves as a stark reminder to look closer, to listen to the quiet warnings, and to understand the profound responsibility that comes with influence. Outside the courtroom, public attention shifted. The shock faded. The questions remained. How many signs do we ignore when something looks normal? How often do we confuse control for care? And how easily can trust be broken? The children were no longer in that house. They were safe. Healing would take time. Some wounds could not be seen. Others would never fully disappear. But for the first time, there was distance between them and the beliefs that hurt them. When sentencing came, the room stayed quiet. No speeches, no excuses, only responsibility. The story that began online ended in court. The house that looked perfect was empty. The channel was silent. And the truth, once hidden behind smiles and rules, was finally exposed. This case became a warning, not about one family, but about belief without limits, authority without questions, and silence that lasts too long. Because sometimes, the real danger is not what we see. It is what we trust. Thanks for watching. Kindly like, comment, and subscribe for more true crime documentary.